Ilia Topuria said he's ready to move to lightweight after just one featherweight title defense. In a recent interview, he said that he hopes to retire from MMA in general in 3 years by the age of 30. I'm 27, I hope to be out by 30. Right now, in my division, I no longer have the motivation to defend the belt anymore. Now I want to move up a category and we'll see how everything goes. Dylan, what are your thoughts on this?
It feels like he's just trying to be more and more like McGregor each day. He's not breaking the accusations. I don't know. I'm just so confused by this news. Like, he has a free title defense against Volk. Like, that is literally free. And then he'll face either the winner of Lopez and Evloev. You'd assume that they make that fight next. Who knows how much turnaround time Evloev wants. But surely he's got to fight at least Volk again, because I think that that's an easy matchup and the UFC is probably going to want that. And then you have him face either Lopez or Evloev, and then maybe you can consider the move up to lightweight. But still, I'm just struggling to make sense of this situation.
Yeah, it seems like it came out of left field, like on a random interview.
On like 10 o'clock, and it was like late at night it kind of came out too. Like,
yeah, for us at least.
Yeah.
Different time period over in Europe. But the second piece of news that he stated in the same interview, Ilia Topuria wants to return in April or May and fight Charles Oliveira at lightweight. That's the matchup that he's eyeing up right now. Since Islam is going to fight in January and he is not going to be ready for April or May, I would like to fight the number one contender, which is Charles Oliveira. So in April, there's supposed to be a Miami card, which is pretty much confirmed now. And he wants Lionel Messi to come to this fight. That's the main reason he said he wants to fight in April. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
If he could do that, if the UFC got Messi at one of their events and they didn't have to pay for it, that's next level.
It makes no sense why he'd want Messi there, though.
Yeah, because
he's a Spain guy. Like, Spain doesn't like Barcelona. I thought he was a Madrid guy. Or is he a Barcelona fan?
I think he's Madrid.
I swear he was a Madrid fan, and like Madrid doesn't like Barcelona. Like, you'd think that he would be a Ronaldo guy.
I don't know,
but all I know is I don't want Topuria to go and chin another one of my favorite fighters. I do not want this fight for Charles. Please say no.
He's slowly building up the Infinity Stones. Yeah, I'm very surprised that, first of all, the move to lightweight so early, because he's a 5'7" featherweight, which is very average height, even on the smaller side.
For featherweight. Yeah. And then to move up to lightweight where guys are 5'10", 5'11".
On average.
Yeah.
Some of the tall ones are 6', 6'1". So it would be a really difficult move. Like, lightweight is almost just as deep as featherweight. I wouldn't say going into 2025, it's definitely getting less depth compared to featherweight.
There's some shaky chins that add big names to your resume.
Yeah.
Gaethje, Poirier, Hooker, like there's some guys that they don't have the same chin that they used to, and you just go and get a 3-fight run of like Gaethje, Poirier, and Hooker, like, oh, the GOAT
as title defenses.
Yeah.
Because if he's gonna fight Charles Oliveira, he's not going to fight any of those other guys. He's going to go Charles and then for the belt. But it's just interesting to me that he would consider moving up to lightweight without a guaranteed title shot.
Yeah, like, unless, like, the only way this happens is he vacates that belt and moves up.
Yeah.
If he wants to go fight Charles, because they're not going to have the champion go and fight for a number one contender fight.
No.
It makes no sense for the UFC.
And that's actually kind of what he stated, is that he would vacate the belt to go up to lightweight. And then you have to imagine that the UFC isn't going to let this fight, Topuria versus Charles, be a co-main. This is a main event.
Yeah.
Two of the biggest stars in the sport right now, both coming off wins. This should be a main event of a pay-per-view. So they could use this to, kind of spread out their champions a little bit.
And also, like, I was kind of trying to plan out when champions would fight in 2025. And it's like, we have back-to-back pay-per-views with like 2 title fights, so it's like once we get past that, the next 3 pay-per-views is gonna be a little bit shaky trying to find fights in there, especially with Ramadan being in there. It's gonna be hard to get guys like a guy like Ankalaev versus Pereira, that fight to happen. It's probably gonna have to happen after, and then you have like a bunch of title defense that just happen now, and guys coming back from injuries and like turnaround time. So it's actually gonna be like interesting who's going to be fighting for these belts.
Yeah.
Maybe you end up waiting and you have a Volk versus Diego Lopez for an interim belt, or the actual belt if this happens, Yeah. And there's a lot of like stuff up in the air for the months after, from like 313 to 315.
Well, we have 311, obviously, with a double championship fight, which is going to be an incredible card. Then 312 got announced at 310 the other day.
Yeah, with 2 title fights. We have the women's, Zhang Wei Li, and then also Dricus.
Right. And I forgot about the women's title fight.
You forgot about Zhang Wei Li?
I'm sorry. I actually did. And then we have, 313 and 314, which are unannounced yet.
Yeah.
So 313 should be at the beginning of March. So that'll be interesting to see who headlines that, because you'd think it wouldn't be Ankalaev, because he doesn't want to do a camp during Ramadan.
That's just stupid on his part.
Yeah. So let's get back to the main topic today. We said Topuria is short. He needs still 2 to 3 title defenses in my books until it warrants a move up to the hardest division.
Go beat Volk a second time, because I think that's the biggest matchup you can make. Mm-hmm. And then go and beat either Lopez or Evloev.
Yeah, or both.
Or both, honestly.
Yeah. If Lopez does get that matchup versus Josh Emmett in Mexico City, then we could see that. Or if Topuria actually does move up for real, then we could see not a real belt for Diego Lopez versus Volk.
Yeah. And I actually, knowing how good Topuria is, it doesn't make me that mad to hear him want to go up to lightweight, because it's like, oh yeah, like featherweight's so good, like let's let other guys have a shot at the belt. But at the same time, it's like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It just realistically makes no sense.
And does the UFC's biggest stars right now are Alex Pereira and Islam. Those are the 2 biggest stars by far, other than John Jones. Let's assume he retires soon. So Alex Pereira, he has maybe 1.5, 2 years left in his prime. Like realistically, he should already be past his prime, but he's peaked late, I guess you could say. And Islam Makhachev, that's going to be their biggest name, other than Topuria. Mm-hmm. Topuria is rising extremely fast.
Yeah, he's probably number 3.
Yeah. Do they want to have their 2 biggest stars in the same division? I would say probably not.
No, but obviously eventually when we get a Topuria versus Islam fight, I feel like that fight eventually happens.
I do too.
I'd say 2026. I really see no chance that we don't get that fight.
And that's a super fight for sure. The 2 of the most well-rounded guys we've ever seen in the sport. But do they want to exist in the same division?
I don't love it. I think that Topuria go and clear out featherweight, and then you can go and have that fight versus Islam, and then have that as a super fight. And if you win as Topuria, you're like, awesome, double champion, probably a top 1 fighter of all time. Might be the best fighter of all time with that. But then if you lose, you just fall back to your featherweight division. You know?
Yeah, and he's undefeated right now. So taking this risk of going up to lightweight is also like, it's just, is he ballsy or is he just like
stupid,
dumb? I can't tell right now. And picking Charles as your matchup isn't the easiest fight either.
It just seems like he wants to be the villain once again. He wants to go ahead and just crush fans' hearts. Like knocking out Charles Oliveira. Mm-hmm. Like people are just gonna hate you. They're gonna hate you.
Charles and him could have some good back and forth.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, imagine like their face off, like they'd both be dripped out too.
Oh yeah. The Spain card would go crazy. If he actually did headline a Spain card with Charles Oliveira, that would be nuts. I think it's slightly different languages. Charles speaks Portuguese, but it's close enough. They can understand each other.
Yeah. But like, does this fight make sense for Topuria?
I wouldn't say it's the easiest matchup. Like, I think a favorable matchup for him would be a Dan Hooker. That would be a very favorable matchup.
You probably don't have the same name value of that fight.
No.
I would say
a Gaethje.
Yeah, or like a Poirier.
Yeah, I don't think Poirier wants to
Yeah,
fight.
but which one of those old heads wants to hop in the ring with Poirier? None of them. They're like, no, we'll retire.
I'm a bit tired right now, coming off an injury. Yeah, with Charles, he has probably the best jiu-jitsu and ground game. He's also very lanky and long, right? Mm-hmm. So his striking, he has some of the most crisp striking. Like he's very technical. He always keeps his hand up. But if you think, let's go back to his Michael Chandler fight. All right, let's go back to it, because Michael Chandler is not a high level boxer. He's not, but he can blitz. Topuria also blitzes, and he's a high level boxer. So if Michael Chandler can push Charles up against the cage and crack him multiple times in the 2 fights that they've had.
No, thank you.
People are exactly. People are saying that, oh, this is a nightmare matchup for Topuria because Charles is longer. Let's not forget, Chandler is only 5'8" or 9. That's only 1 or 2 inches taller than Topuria.
Well, and Topuria still got in on Max, and Max's arms are so long.
Yeah, Max is 5'11".
Yeah, Topuria knows how to close that space.
Yeah, exactly. He's a technician. So if this matchup happened, let's assume it goes forward. Dylan, early prediction. Who is
Topuria.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
Topuria.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're that confident because everything I was seeing on Twitter was like, oh, Topuria, nightmare matchup for him. I'm like, are we seeing the same fighters
Like
here?
Topuria might be the best fighter in the UFC.
Yeah.
And Charles is good, but we've seen what Topuria has done to the best fighters in the world, top 7-8 fighters all time.
Yeah. And if Chandler can survive on his back against Charles Oliveira, I'm pretty confident that Topuria can.
Yeah, they also forget that Topuria's a black belt
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So it's not going to be easy for both guys. It would be a fun matchup. It would be my heart would be, I don't know who I'd cheer for. It'd be tough. This also, you mentioned this to me. This also feels very much Conor McGregor-esque.
Yeah, and we remember what happened to that guy.
Yes.
Got a little too eager, and then the downfall just started.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
It would be really sad to see. I hope Topuria.
Hide your sister, hide your mom, hide your girlfriend. Ilia Topuria's downfall starting now.
Honestly. At the end of the day, this all could be marketing and talk because, well, he's gotten us to talk about
Yeah.
it. He's gotten millions of interactions on Twitter. Like, this is a huge news right now. So do you think that this is purely just, oh, I'm going to make some waves and maybe, after that Movsar fight, this is another narrative that I've seen that we didn't write down on the sheet today, but I want to talk about it. All of these Dagestani fans are saying, we really scared him with our last performance. Genuinely kill yourself. Split decisioning Aljo. And like in the moment, I thought he lost.
I had Aljo in my scorecard.
In the final predictions, I did predict Movsar. And then when we were watching the fight, I was like, fair enough. Like Aljo got it done. But Movsar, I guess he did a little bit more damage when he was on top compared to Aljo, which fair enough. That's how I
8
want.
strikes in 15 minutes. 8 strikes going to really help you out versus Ilia Topuria.
Was that actually the stat?
It was 8 significant strikes.
Holy, we're cooked.
I originally saw 4 significant strikes and I believed it.
Wow. Yeah. So the Movsar matchup, I don't think he deserves a title shot after that performance. If it was dominant and he gets a first round submission or a second round submission, maybe he jumps Diego Lopez, but I don't even think so.
I don't think so. I think that Movsar's stock is just here.
Yeah.
He's just staying the same. He's not doing anything to move it up. And Lopez just continues to get better and better.
Yeah, Lopez coming off a win over Brian Ortega is much more impressive than Movsar coming off of a win over a former champion, Aljo.
Mm-hmm.
Aljo was a bantamweight champion. He's a decent size for the division, but he doesn't have the same resume as Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's been a staple of the featherweight division. Beating him is much more impressive in my books than beating Aljo.
Did you hear that Aljo might retire?
I saw he was thinking about it, and then he came out and said, I'm definitely coming back.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, I want to see him fight again.
Yeah, a couple more fights. He is 35. So,
36, I think.
yeah, hanging up before you just start getting chinned all day.
Yeah.
He's a smart man. He doesn't want that CT.
He didn't look bad either.
No, he looked good.
Yeah.
I think that fight could have gone either way. You
For
know?
sure, for
And
sure.
then if Sterling wins that, then your trajectory is a lot different. You know?
I do think, even though we've talked about this topic for a while now, I do think that this is all talk from Topuria. I don't actually think he's going to move up.
So your response to is it actually going to happen is no?
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen right now. Topuria, he doesn't even like quick turnarounds.
Yeah.
Like for him, a 6-month turnaround, hey, that's fast. That's fast around here. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. I don't even want it to happen. I want to see him defend his belt.
Heading into the year 2025, I do not believe it will happen in 2025. 2026, Topuria will be fighting for the lightweight belt. Mm-hmm. It's a 2026 prediction, real early.
Yeah.
Do I want this to happen? Not yet. Because I still think that there's matchups I want to see with Ilia Topuria inside of the featherweight division. I want to see him versus Lopez. Even though that's a hard matchup for Lopez, I still think if there's anyone that's going to do it, it's going to be Lopez just because of how interesting and different and just how scrappy and blitzy and whatever. He's just so unique inside of that ring. So if there's anyone that could beat Topuria, it would be Diego Lopez.
Yeah, he deserves it. That's the least he deserves. Let's talk about one last final piece of news on today's video. Alexander Topuria says he will be making his UFC debut in the beginning of 2025. So he's a bantamweight fighter, 135. What do you think initial matchups or initial thoughts on his debut?
I think that he's just gonna be Topuria's little brother. It's so hard to establish yourself, especially with or is he his older brother?
Older.
Yeah, I thought so. But you're Topuria's brother. How much are you actually being able to make a name for yourself, and how much are you gonna be able to fight the narrative of you're only in the UFC because you're Topuria's brother? You're the biggest rising star's brother. You know, realistically, he's gonna come in and he'll have some low-level bantamweight fights, and then we'll really be able to see, probably have 3 just trash cans, you know, very similar to what they did with like Peyton Talbot. And then maybe he'll eventually get like a fight against like a veteran and or like a prove it fight, and we'll see really how he does in that prove it fight. I don't think they're just going to push him into the deep end right away.
No, I would be surprised if they gave him anyone close to the rankings. I think they'll give him a layup to start with and see what his level is at, because we've seen a lot of fighters get fraud checked in the UFC.
Yes.
Kaya Sakura. Not a fraud check, but he actually moved into the 14th spot in the rankings. All right. That's going to do it for today's video.
Let us know if you think Ilia Topuria is actually going to move to lightweight, and do you want this move to happen? And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.